Your attention, please. It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the C.J. Howard Sports Talk Show, live from the mountains of Barberville, Kentucky. Want to talk sports? Give us a call at 502-849-9320. Do you have any questions, or would you like to leave us a comment? Please go to my page and like and share. Now, let's go live to C.J. Howard.
A glorious Sunday evening to all, and welcome to another episode of CJ Howard Show, episode number 4 of season number 5, as we get set to bring you here tonight. CJ Howard live from my apartment here in Hausberg, Kentucky, in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, on what was a beautiful day out there. Temperatures about perfect, the sun out, beautiful last couple of days. It feels like fall's getting here. Football's underway. Not a good weekend if you're a Bengals fan, a Kentucky fan, or your team of choice. A rough weekend for a lot. But we're going to talk about it all here tonight. I do not have a co-host. Did have a co-host, but unfortunately he had some things that come up at the last moment. So said he would appreciate it being an opportunity, but had some things come up. So I'm by myself tonight, solo. So we'll see where we go here. We've got a great guest list for you, though. Tremendous guest list. We're going to be joined here in about 10 minutes by Lexington Dunbar head football coach Wes Johnson. We're going to talk with him, talk about his Bulldogs a little bit, and talk about Lexington football, how it's changed a lot in the past 7 to 8 years down there. Dave Baker's going to be with us at 8:30. Dave will get an opportunity to talk about last night, talk about so far where Kentucky can go from here, and we're going to talk some basketball. Jeff Drummond, we're going to do the same thing with him as, last night was not a good effort by Kentucky at all, especially the offensive line. They were about as poor as I've seen them in quite a long time. Then Audrey's going to join me at 9:30. We're going to talk week 4 and go back over week 3 and go into week 4 as we get set for what should be a good week of football. Let's talk a little bit about Kentucky last night. That was not 31-6. This game was a 17-6 game late in the third. And then the wheels fell off. Kentucky just couldn't put anything offensively together. Couldn't protect the quarterback. They did run the ball pretty well, but that was the only bright spot of the defense. Listen, the defense wasn't their fault. They held as long as they could at the pace they could. But sometimes you just can't play defense. You got to have some offense to go with it. It did hurt, though, that Barry Brown had one catch last night, only 3 targets. I think Kentucky only threw 17 passes as a team. So, we didn't see a whole lot of what I think we wanted to see from Kentucky. Definitely. I also do believe the playing only a half a game against Southern Miss really hurt Kentucky because the reps that they would have had, they would have been able to work on some things that would have got them more ready to play against South Carolina. Shane Beamer is 3-1 against Mark Stoops and the Cats. So he owns Kentucky right now. Basically, at least I heard a lot of people last night on the post-game show talk, was this loss more embarrassing or was the Vanderbilt loss 2 years ago at Commonwealth Stadium or Kroger Field more embarrassing? I took part last night because double-digit figure at home, you have to win that game. Now, where do you go? You got Supposed to have game day coming to town. You got number one Georgia. You're pumped to the gill. Now what do? It could be. And if it ends up being a disaster this coming Sunday or Saturday, what's it going to mean for the Ohio game in 2 weeks? Well, because we just hear a lot of people very discouraged with the Cats. A lot of people said they would be back this season. Hoping that's not true. So but just not a good look last night by the Cats, and they have a lot of work they have to do if they want to they want to be where they want to be. As I said, they do play 3 of the next 4 games at home, but they've been at home the first 2. They got Georgia Saturday, Ohio the following Saturday, then Miss. A lot of people are having a hard time trying to find now those 7-8 wins that Kentucky was supposed to have. So we will see where all this will go as we progress on through. Joining me right now is the head football coach of the Dunbar Bulldogs, Mr. Wes Johnson. Wes, thank you so much for being with me.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Coach, we got another season here started, and we're already into week. Some teams are into week 3, some are into week 2. Talk about your team a little bit. I know you're 0-3, and they're playing hard, but you played 3 really good teams right off the bat there. Talk about your team a little bit.
Yeah, well, we came in. we're definitely really, really young. Really young. So I knew this year it's a rebuilding year for us. We're doing a lot of new things, new offense, new defense from last year. We've got some kids that really work hard, I'm starting probably more sophomores and freshmen on a 6A team that I've ever had in my entire career. So, 15-year-olds and 18-year-olds, playing 18-year-olds, sometimes that doesn't matter how good that 15-year-old is. When they're playing those 18-year-olds, there's a difference there physically and even sometimes mentally. But, it's we're getting better game by game, and we're far from a finished product. I'm really excited about what we can be at the end of the year.
You have a big number of kids. That's important. So you're trying to build this program back to what Dunbar football used to be in Lexington. What about one of the things I've noticed about Lexington football is that it's not the same as it used to been 10 years ago. I guess that might be where Frederick Douglass come into the picture, some other schools, Great Crossing. Talk about the change in climate in Lexington football, because a lot of people probably don't realize how much it's changed in the past 8 to 10 years.
It really has, and it's changed since I've been there. When I first got there in 2018, Douglass was in its 2nd year. I think that anytime you build a new high school in a county, like for instance, Scott County builds Great Crossing, eventually, it's going to thin out some talent in one of the schools of another, and that sort of thing. So when you get a new 6A high school in Fayette County, numbers spread thin, and it takes a while to build those numbers back up and to get, those kids in your feeder programs and build those middle school teams back up. And, they're getting ready to build a new middle school in Fayette County. So again, that'll spread out talent even more in terms of the middle schools. And so you'll see an effect, in the middle schools here in the next couple of years as well. It's definitely a landscape that's changed. We've had a lot of success at Dunbar in my 7 years. We've been to 2 regional championships. We've won regional championship. We're a semifinal runner-up in 2020. But like any school, we're going to be cyclical. We're going to be good years, and we're going to be okay years, and we're going to have some rebuilding years. And, that's just the way it goes, at schools. And, we're not colleges. We can't go get the guys who we need. We just have those guys on our feeders, and we have to build and develop them and work really hard at that.
You don't. You guys have not got the luxury of the NIL or transfer portal or anything like that. So I mean, if you had that, that would be you'd be like, wow, that's great. We can get this guy or that guy. But
Right.
I watch all around the state, and I've noticed since classifications changed in the past. I know they go by enrollment, and I don't like that because there's a lot of schools that are not fit for their class. They're fit to better play in other classes. And that talk about that a little bit because I know that sometimes you play in a class where like 6A is very tough.
Oh yeah.
There's there's 15 or 16 teams over there that any given year can win it. But then at the bottom part, there's really some good teams down there, but they can't get off their feet because of the 10 or 15 above them. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, when we made it to the Final Four against Mail in 2020, I did some research at that point, and I believe that, and you can go back and check me, but I think that there were only 3 teams since 1970 that won the 6A or 4A title, depending on, what classification was the biggest, the largest classification. So we'll just put it at that. Only 3 teams other than Male, St. X, and Trinity. 3 county teams. And I think one was Scott County, one was Clark County. And right off the top of my head, I can't remember the other one. But if I did enough digging and research again, I could find that. But so really, since that time, there was a Louisville school here and there that would win it. That would not be Male, Trinity, or St. X, but 90% of the time, those 3 win the 6A title. And so they have, of course, you got Trinity and St. X with 2,000 boys in the school. We have an enrollment this year of 1,800. But again, our demographic is a little different, than it used to be. Our programs we have in our school, we have a program in our school that you can test into, but you really have to be a genius to test into it. Where other schools have programs that you can apply for, like an engineering program or a biomed program or, that sort of stuff, that really help them sometimes with some enrollment numbers. Ours is the only test-in program in the county. And you have to, test in the 98th or 99th percentile and in math and science to even get in it. So, we have very, very few players that are in that program and play football because it is so demanding. They have 0 hour, they're in there doing classwork. They have their projects and homework that is just rigorous. We have some challenges in terms of, enrollment at Dunbar right now. We're working on that.
Yeah. But I agree with what somebody said last year. We talked about enrollment, and we talked about how I wish we would go only to 5 classes.
Yeah.
Because I think it would benefit some schools better. You look at next year's realignment. I think you guys will remain in 6A, won't you?
Yeah.
And the new is that now they're only going every 2 years, right? With this new realignment. So you'll be in 6A for another 2 years.
Yeah. And I don't ever see us leaving 6A, to be honest. With our numbers, unless they build a new high school in Lexington and thin it out even more. I mean, we'll always be around 1,900 to 2,000 kids, no matter what. So we're always going to fall into that category.
Yeah, and that's good to have. To have that many students. A lot of schools at one time have over 1,000 students. Now you got schools that can hardly keep their head above water because they don't have no more like 100 or 200 or 300 students in the school.
Right.
Your team is you're improving. Like you said, your young football team. You've got a lot of work that you have to do. Schedule. You got a tough schedule, but you get. I saw that you don't have an opponent listed for this coming Friday, but you do have. It's supposed to be a home game. So, can you tell us who you'll be playing Friday?
Yeah, so we play Shelby County Friday.
Okay.
And then we have Boone County. Both of those are at home. And then we have Simon Kenton to kind of round off our non-district schedule. And then, of course, we start our district. So, I feel like we have some games coming up where, we can have some success. We did, Connor's got a great football team this year. They have everybody coming back from last year. Obviously, Woodford is a top 10 program in 5A by far. I mean, that was the most talented group I've seen in a long time. And we battled in that game. And, with 3 minutes to go and in the half, we were only down, 21-0. And I really felt the talent discrepancy was significant in terms of, what they had versus what we had. And again, I'm not downplaying our kids. It's just that we're young and they just, had great size and great athleticism. And, but I felt like our kids battled and fought the entire game. And we had some young mistakes really, right at the end of that half and turned into two turnovers and led to two quick touchdowns for them. And then we settled down the rest of the game. So if you take out 2 plays in the football game, we battle and keep that thing from a running clock. So, we're just 2 plays away and it was 2 young players making mistakes that, put the ball on the ground. And, that's what you deal with when you have a young team.
Yeah. I saw it last year with Hazard when my brother was coaching him. Young team probably never could have the same 11 on the field at any time. Never had the same 11. And it just led into problem after problem. Time after time, that defense would play really well, keep them in a lot of games, and then they fall apart because inexperience was there. Now this year, Hazard's a lot better team because they have experience. They have older kids mixed in with the younger kids, and you talk about these younger kids. You got to have some leaders. So talk about a few of your seniors, Coach. Some kids that are playmakers, and we need to keep our eye on and watch out for.
Well, one of my best players, Moses Mafuda. He is a linebacker and plays tackle and H-back and everything else from it for us. He's about 6'3", 260. Just a really, really good plug middle linebacker that plays very physical. He's kind of my utility guy. Just kind of move him everywhere around the point of attack I can get him, so that he can be involved. So he's a very, really good player. My center, Zach Luby, has been a 2-year starter, very solid player, in terms of, he's a center, our center and just does a great job, with his work ethic and his off-season work ethic and those types of things. So, we have some speed. Anthony Boykin's got good speed. He's a running back. He was injured last game. He could have helped us a little bit. He's got really good track speed, and he's a track star as well. So, those guys, all of them, contribute. We don't have many seniors this year. We're about 12 or 13 seniors. Normally I have about, 20, anywhere from 18 to 23 seniors. So it's just a small senior class, but got a huge sophomore class and a big junior class. So, we're getting the numbers back up. My freshman class this year was very big. So, those numbers are climbing for us.
Get your JV program. So this would be a good year to get your JV program and get those kids ready for next year. Talk about your JV schedule a little bit, because I know how important that JV schedule is for this reps for the kids and people. Some of the kids that play varsity on JV to bring it over on that side of the ball.
Sure, that's always your feeder. Really, to be honest, Fayette County doesn't have, we don't have a 100% feeder for our program. We have about 5 different middle schools that feed into what we do and in our school. And a lot of times I'm not even sure exactly who all's coming. I have to go find them. I have to look at addresses. I have to go figure out who's coming to our school. And so when they get here, there's a process of blending 5 schools into one team, and that's a challenge in itself as well. And so last year, this past winter, I created a league here in Central Kentucky called the Central Kentucky Freshmore League. We did not have enough freshmen to just have a freshman team. And when we played JV, we really couldn't compete because our freshmen couldn't compete with the juniors that were playing in some of the other schools. So we created a Freshmore League, which is a freshman, sophomore only, that they can only play freshmen and sophomores. And we have 10 teams in it right now. We have a bowl game at the end, 2 bowl games at the end of the season on a Saturday that will, crown a champion of the league and a runner-up and a third place finisher. And we'll have an all-league team where we all publicize our best JV players and, get them out. Really just kind of exciting the players because, contrary to belief, a lot of people think that middle school from the freshman year is the year you lose players. And I've found, and nationally, it's your sophomores. So after the sophomore year, you lose more players, percentage wise than any other class that you have. And I really do think it's that waiting year. It's the year that they're not ready for varsity and they really don't want to play JV again. And sometimes JV teams aren't organized, and sometimes there's, people cancel. And so it's real hard to fill a season schedule. And so we really felt like we could bring 10 teams together that committed to play and that wouldn't cancel. And so that's really been a good thing for us. We play Shelby County on Monday night. So we play every Monday night. It's Shelby County. We have Texas Creek, Lafayette, Henry Clay. Then we'll have Lexington Catholic is in that, along with Western Hills, Franklin County, East Jessamine, ourselves, and I'm forgetting one more, but we have 10 of us.
Is Bryan Station in that too?
No, Bryan Station and Douglas, they have big enough teams where they play a freshman only team, and then they have juniors in their JV. Yeah. And so they need to play a little bit, and maybe one day some of us will have the same situation. Right now, it's just not currently our situation with numbers, but I'm going to turn a light on here so you can see me.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. But you know what, Coach? That's a great idea, and I think more schools should do that. That would be a tremendous thing here in Eastern Kentucky if some of those schools did that, because it's hard for, like you said, it's hard for freshmen and sophomores to play against juniors.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of times you play a JV game, you ask their coaches, "Coach, how many we got there? We had to bring some juniors. Sorry, these are some juniors don't play a whole lot. But it doesn't matter. They're still going to have a disadvantage because they're freshmen, sophomore. But I love what you're doing with that, because that's something that everybody should do all in their area. That's a good thing, Coach. I'm glad you've done that, because that gives everybody an opportunity to play at a fair level.
Yeah, it does, and it really combining those two classes. One of my strategies as well is that Dunbar is going to be really good when we have a lot of juniors and seniors playing together, and so when we start those kids, freshmen and sophomores, playing together, when they hit their junior and senior year, they have played together before. They've gone through a season together. They understand the way each other play. And so, to get those two classes getting together and playing as soon as possible is also kind of a goal of that for me.
Yeah. Well, you need to keep up your work, Coach, because that's a great thing. And I think more coaches need to get involved and start doing that. I think they should do that a lot in both football and basketball, because I feel like a lot of times when you play JV games, you get a JV varsity game in basketball, but sometimes you want to go play JV games, and if you play a freshman JV game, a lot of times they'll slip juniors in there on you. But if they know it's only a freshman sophomore league only, then I think it benefits everybody. That's something that I think everybody should look into. I think I think if the word got spread about what you guys are doing with that, I think that'd be a tremendous program for everybody around the state to do, because I think we give a fair opportunity to those freshmen, sophomore that don't get that chance.
And you have, that you have the select schools out there that they can play a freshman team, and they can play sophomores and juniors, and that's great for them. But to be honest with you, I think the majority of the programs these days have trouble getting freshman numbers. And even if you have 25 freshmen, let's say you have 25 freshmen, that's a pretty good number. But for us, we'd have 18 of those would be wide receivers. We'd have 2 quarterbacks in that group. And so then we'd have, so now you're we don't have enough linemen. So, you're trying to convince a big wide receiver that he's going to play tackle this Monday. And then you get some injuries, and then nobody's playing their position. And so now with our freshmen and sophomores, we can 2 platoon. We can have a whole new starting lineup on special teams. We can have 11 more run out on punt, 11 more run out on kickoff, 11 more run out on kickoff return, and just play lots of kids. And so our freshman team is more around 50, 45 or 50. And so, you get those kids playing, and really, and contrary to belief too, kids don't want to play the whole game. I mean, they don't want to play offense, defense, and special teams. They want to rest. They want to come out a little bit, You get those special ones that just never want to come out of the game, but you need, some of them want to come out. Some of them, need a break. They get hurt or injured, because they get tired. So I tried to force feed my freshmen, and force a freshman schedule my first couple of years at Dunbar, and it just never worked out. And kids weren't having fun, and I wasn't having fun, and nobody was having fun. So, I tried to make it where we can have a little fun and also play a lot of people.
Great idea, Coach. Something that needs to be spread around the state. I think that needs to be done in other places. I 100% agree with that, and I think what you're doing is very good for your program and very good for the other programs, and it's going to help football even be more better in the central part of the state there. One final question, I'll let you go. Again, tell everybody who you play Friday night, what time, and where you're going to be.
So we'll be 7:30 Friday night at Paul Lawrence Dunbar, High School, playing Shelby County. Should be a great matchup, and really excited about coming back home. Been on the road for 2 weeks, and we got 2 straight home games I'm really excited about, and we always get a great crowd. One of the things I really enjoy about Dunbar is, out of all the Lexington schools, we get a really, really good draw in terms of our student section. Our students really, really support our guys. We get a good crowd for the games. They're a lot of fun. We always have a DJ and just kind of theme nights and all that kind of thing. And so, we really draw a good crowd, and it's a lot of fun to play in front of that crowd.
Football is one sport that does draw a lot of people. I've noticed that a whole lot. They want to get out and watch football. It's fun. High school football is a great sport. It's a great sport. Love it, and wouldn't have it any other way. Coach, I want to thank you so very much for coming on and talking about your team and talking about that program that you do there in Lexington to help of course, your team and the other teams as well to get better. Coach, good luck to you and your team for the rest of the year, and we will talk to you very soon.
Appreciate you having me on. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Thanks very much, Coach. Wes Johnson of the Lexington Dunbar Bulldogs, as he takes some time to be with us. Thank you so much. I tell you what, that program he's got in his mind, that's a great idea. Other schools should do that. Freshman, sophomore league only. I think that should be a tremendous thing. You can get 8-10 teams, if I was thinking around here in Prairie County, you would think Hazard, Leslie, Knott, you could probably get 8-10 teams and have a good freshman, sophomore league, then do what they do, have a couple ball games at the end of the year, crown your champion, and have an all-league team. Yeah, it's a great idea. I love it. That's some good stuff going on there at Dunbar High School. Post-up Dave Baker with us in just a few minutes. Guys, if you want to give me a phone call, give me a phone call. Let me give me the number. Phone number, 502-849-9320 if you'd like to give me a call. Guys, comment. I don't see any comments from nobody. Have you quit me? Have you quit me? Have you not commented no more? Come on, guys. I want to see you. Please comment. Tell me your favorite team. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me what you're thinking. Guys, I need to see your comments at the bottom of the screen. Let's go. I want to go over some notes, guys. First of all, I want to go over something very important. Yesterday afternoon, there was a situation in Laurel County. I think everybody in the state knows about it now. They're still trying to find the individual. You can find all the details on the news of your local news. But first of all, I want to give prayers to the family and friends and the people that were involved in yesterday's events in London and Livingston. Very, very tough situation. We need to pray for them. I do understand that some of the schools in the Laurel County area, I think even Corbin, are going to be no classes tomorrow because of what's going on. So, and I think that is a great idea because till they get the situation in hand, I think they need to not let the students be up. The students, listen, if you don't need to be out, please don't be out. If you happen to, if you see the individual, please call your local law enforcement. Also, I want to also give prayers for the people and the families down in Georgia at the high school. They had an event there too on Monday or Tuesday. I want to pray for them. Also, I want to pray for the people in Clark County with the bus incident. And I want to pray for Robert Garland, a good friend of mine, friend of my ex-wife, that's a relative. He needs some prayers as well. So, Robert, hope you're doing better. I hope that the people in Georgia, London, and Livingston, and in Clark County get all the prayers they need to help each other. And I will talk about that again before the show ends. Also, while I'm talking about, I want to get that in there. Also, guys, John Hogg was with us last week, and he talked about his new book, got Name, Image, and Murder. You can get this book at Amazon. I'm going to be sharing a link in the next post that I put out for the show. If you would like to go in there and see what that book's about, maybe get a copy of it, help John out. It's a really good book. It's about a basketball. I don't know the details. I do know if I will put something together and I will put it on Facebook. If you would like to see a copy of the book, I will put a link in the post so that you can be able to get that book. Also, we have a phone call, so hold on 1 second. Let me go ahead and get this phone call. Hello, caller. You're on the CJ Howard Show. Hey, Chris. Hey, how you doing? I'm okay. Waiting for Dave Baker to join me. Yes, Dave Baker's going to hopefully be with us in just a few minutes. How's your Sunday evening been? Okay, we got Dave coming on. You got to, before I let him in here, do you have anything you want to ask me before I bring Dave in? Some of them are doing pretty well. Some of them are up and down. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, Christopher. So when Audrey comes on, but we'll talk about we're going to talk about some. Some 1 week they're real good, next week they're not as good. So we're going to discuss. Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and talk to Dave, and I want to thank you for your phone call. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Christopher. Bye-bye. Christopher Gregory from the Ashland area. Appreciate him coming and giving me a phone call. Now joining me is my good buddy, Mr. Dave Baker from WKYT. Dave, welcome, sir. How are you doing on this Sunday evening?
CJ, I'm a blessed man. How about yourself?
Oh, yes. Went to church this morning, got my amen in, feel like a new man, ready to go.
There you
Always.
go. Yes,
Not a whole lot. Not very pretty last night or yesterday. That was, you know what? I listened to everybody talk, and you want to put a little blame here, a little blame there, a little blame over there. When it comes right down to it, what was the main problem yesterday?
That's a good question, and I just say that because obviously I wasn't in any of the meeting rooms or anything for the preparation or anything, but it's they just did not look like they were ready. They didn't look like they were ready emotionally. I don't think the defense played as badly as some people. They're still in that game, and you have a missed tackle in the backfield on a blitz, and that's how somebody gets wide open in the secondary. But that's part of it too. But boy, offense, it was it made Shannon Dawson and Rich Scangarello look like a couple of offensive gurus. I mean, it was, and I don't mean to be ugly or anything.
You're right.
I've never had a conversation with Bush Hamden or anything, but all I can do is tell you what I saw. And for instance, they had that one series where they just ran the ball down their throats, and I'm thinking, okay, good, let's keep doing that. And how about we do that with no huddle? And how about we keep a tired defense from being able to substitute and everything? And that just didn't happen. And I understand. Now, and again, we don't know what his charge is for Mark Stoops. And we know at times that offensively, that because Mark is from the defensive side of the ball, he has been a guy who would prefer his defense be on the field less. And so from a tempo standpoint, he's liable to say, whoa, more than he's liable to say, go. Again, we don't know that. But I mean, it just, they certainly weren't in rhythm, and they had no answer for what South Carolina was doing to them in passing situations. I mean, no answer.
It was just simple, basic passes, though. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't like they ran double reverse pass or flea flicker, or it was like just basic 5-yard route or a 7-yard go or a 14-yard stop and cross the middle. It wasn't nothing that Kentucky couldn't stop. It was just they couldn't get to stop it.
Well, they couldn't stop it. I mean, here's the thing that we don't know, CJ. We don't know if it was just a 5-yard pass. Mm-hmm. It may have been, Vandergrift's second or third option. A lot of times you didn't even get that. You hear him talk about quarterbacks going through their progressions and everything. But I mean, he just didn't have, a second to just look down the field. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if he, and I'm sure he probably did, but I don't know whether he completed a pass from the pocket or not. I mean, it was just, the pressure and completely broke down Kentucky's protection. It was just non-existent.
Yeah, the offensive line was about as poor as I've ever saw it. And that's unfortunate for an offensive line where they went out and got 2 transfers out of the transfer portal that supposedly was supposed to be really helping the offensive line and did not help them yesterday because every time they turned around, there was somebody grabbing Vandergrift or they had a hole in the backfield. It was it. And then look, Barry Brown, you have to get the football in his hand. He is the most explosive player on this team. If you don't get it, he had 3 targets yesterday and he had 1 pass for -7 yards. That's unexcusable because he's the most exciting player on the team.
Well, it doesn't make any difference to me whether you're Tom Brady or whoever you are, or Vandergrift. If you don't give him time, they're probably going to be giving that guy double coverage.
Yep,
and,
you're right.
And listening to Tom and Jeff, talk about it a little bit on the radio yesterday, I don't think Barry and Brown was 100%.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens too, and this is unusual, in the kicking game, I don't think Kentucky fielded 1 punt cleanly.
Yeah.
I mean, there were all kinds of miscues and everything. Now that dude from South Carolina was an unbelievable punter. I mean, and our guy punted the ball well, at least from a field position standpoint. But our guy never fielded the ball cleanly, and so that's very difficult to get something going there too. It was really, really disappointing. And then when you look at some of the things that are on Twitter today, I believe, what is it now? They're 2-8 in their last 10 SEC home games.
Yep.
And, you know, there's been some things that have been said and everything. And that's not anybody piling on or anything, or that's not anybody, you know, jumping off the bandwagon or out of the canoe after just 2 games. But this is significant. With the expansion of the SEC and the change in the schedule, it should be really alarming. And this is really maybe one of the truest tests of what Mark Stoops and his staff can do coming back this week. Yeah, they're playing the number 1 team in the country, but I mean, they've got to find some answers, and they got to find them quick.
I agree with what I was listening to the post-game show last night. I agree with what they were talking about after the game. If Kentucky gets blown out this week, you ain't going to see nobody at the Ohio game because they're not going to come back. I mean, they're going to get some of them are already frustrated up that they won't even not come back at all. But if the Georgia game, if they're not competitive against Georgia, how you going to fill seats against Ohio? I mean,
well, I mean, obviously that's a concern. I mean, mostly tickets are already sold, but I mean, from the standpoint of an athletic department and the people who run it and the coaching staff, how are you going to win games? I mean, you know, that's the easiest way to, you know, my man Oscar used to always say that empty seats are what get coaches fired. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about that right now, but I mean, I think this is a real crossroads. I mean, you know, there are, and South Carolina has been that kind of game for Mark Stoops. I can't remember what year it was, but it was kind of when he was facing a do or die sort of situation. And a lot of people inside who I trust and believe were saying at the time that if he didn't beat South Carolina, that it might be over. And he goes ahead and, you know, walks it off with a field goal at the end and wins it and is able to turn it around. And listen, the guy, I think what it shows is just how difficult a job Kentucky is. Yeah. And I'm not making excuses for anybody or anything, but I mean, especially now with this transfer portal that we're talking about, NIL, some of it, but mainly it's the transfer portal, because guys now that wouldn't have gotten a chance to play at certain places because they would have had to sit out a year, and coaches aren't as concerned about that. Janai Broome, for instance, from Morehead State, he'd have never gotten to play at Auburn or had a chance to play there if he had to sit out a year. But Bruce Pearl recognized his talent, was able to bring him in right away. But look at Northern Illinois winning at Notre Dame yesterday.
Yep.
But
look,
I mean,
look at the SEC as a whole, Dave. Vanderbilt's a whole lot better than what people thought they were. Arkansas was a lot better than what people thought they were. And those are 2 teams. And I'll say you'll play Arkansas, but they do play Vanderbilt. You know, you're looking at the conference. The teams that were at Auburn didn't look real good yesterday. It's California, but California is not a bad football team. But Kentucky was, you know, right here now. They're under the pecking order, and that's not good. Especially if you're seeing teams that were not supposed to be very good playing better than you are.
Well, I get that. And that's that old coach's adage about the fact they win games on the field. And I mean, you know, just the way it happened yesterday, and you could see it on Mark Stoops' face. You could hear it in his voice after the game yesterday. I think he was as surprised as much as anybody. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of Rich Brooks said last night on Twitter that it's what he used to call an all systems failure. And I mean, that's the only kind of way you can look at it. And listen, we can talk about student athletes and all this stuff, but I mean, everybody on that staff is now making really, really good money.
Yeah.
I mean, Stoops is making what, $9 million?
Yeah,
Just before the game this weekend, I believe it was Bullware and Vince Marrow. They announced that they were getting a contract extension and a raise, and that's the profession they have chosen. So it's not like anybody is piling on or anything, but I mean, when it's just like any other business, when you're getting compensated like that, the people above you are going to expect results.
Yeah. Did it hurt Kentucky too? They didn't finish the Southern Miss game.
You mean in terms of not being able to finish it?
Where they didn't look. Yeah. I mean, I felt like if they would have played the full game, they would have probably been a little more crisper, a little more fresher. Because that was almost 9 minutes of third quarter, all the fourth, so they would have got reps for some other people, and I think it would have helped them if they'd have finished the whole game. I think what do you think?
You could have, on the other side of the coin, you could have had a bad injury. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you just don't know, but it's certainly one of those things that. And I said this when I was doing a Facebook thing with your buddy Brian Milam a couple of weeks ago. I think one thing the staff, and I think I've said it to you before, that they've done an incredibly good job of is they've done a great job of identifying talent early, recruiting that talent, getting them to commit early, hold on to that commitment, and then once they've gotten to campus, they've done a really nice job of developing that talent. But the one thing that, to me, and this is not second guessing, I've said this before. I mean, what has it been now? 4 or 5 years where like every year, 2 at the most, you've had new coordinator, transfer quarterback, new coordinator, transfer quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's not saying anything negative about Vandegrift. It's not saying anything negative about Bush Hampton, but I just, not only the plays that they weren't able to complete, but I mean, it just doesn't seem like there is any offensive rhythm. And to me, I'm no coach, but just having watched this thing for, over 40 years now, I got to believe that that's the thing that they began addressing right after the game last night. They have, it's one thing if you're moving a football and you can't punch it in. It's one thing if you can run the ball between the tackles, but you can't get outside. It's one thing if you can complete a slant pass, but you can't stretch the defense. I mean, all those things are part of it. But when you're just not getting any sort of rhythm, and it doesn't it looked the entire game like South Carolina's defense dictated their will from whistle to whistle on the Kentucky offense. And that's something you can't have against anybody. South Carolina is a team you're going to compete with. It has become a rivalry because it's chippy. But now they've won 3 in a row, and the last 2 in your place. I mean, that's red flag stuff to me.
Shane Beamer's 3-1 against Mark Stoops. I mean, Shane Beamer's he's a good coach. I don't know he's not a great one. He's a good one. And South Carolina's had some pretty decent talent the past couple years. But you should not be like I thought. You should not be. But these red flags, you should not be losing to South Carolina when you're a double-digit figure, and you just have. I mean, you got to pull it together. But now, how do you pull it together? You got a lot of game day coming. It's a big game. It's still
now hold on. I hadn't heard that game day's coming.
They said that when they Saturday morning they said when they was picking the Kentucky South Carolina game, they said, well, next week we're going to be in Kentucky.
Wow. Now I hadn't heard that. And if they did, I don't know what else they got on their schedule, but.
Well, I thought they would have been I thought they would have partnered with Wisconsin or one of the other 2 big games.
And those things are all still completely fluid. I just haven't heard that today officially announced.
Yeah, well, they said it on the show. They were picking the Kentucky South Carolina game.
They said it on the show before that final score.
Yeah. I was like, oh, game day's coming to Kroger. Well, and then after the game's over, it's like, oh. I don't think game day will be coming back.
I think they were counting on Kentucky taking care of business.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean they won't, because
Yeah.
the number one team is coming here. But like I said, I haven't seen anything tonight. Somebody else may have heard something out there, but I've been kind of like you. I've been kind of off the grid after church.
Yeah. This ain't a sports question, but I do want to ask your thoughts about what happened yesterday in London. That was so sad. We'll give our prayers to the people in London and the Livingston area. But a lot of people got caught up in that, Dave, and I feel so bad for them because that should not be happening.
CJ, it's a real combination of things, and I spend most of my life talking about sports, but I've always been interested in world events and politics. I was a political science major. One of my daughters works up in D.C. And I'm not going to get in on the political side of it, but there are so many people out there, and I think even more so since the COVID shutdowns, that have just got some real issues.
Yeah.
And, I think one of the things that, we've got to find a way through through private and public partnerships to reach out to kids who need help with the problems that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
I've read some things today that apparently the young man's mother had called the school and said, this is a real emergency. We need to find him and see what's going on. And so it's not just mental health, but I don't know if you're aware of it. They had, at least down there in the Georgia situation, they had new technology where every teacher and administrator in school has got this badge, which has a button on it.
Oh, yeah.
And when you hit that button, it tells all the first responders that this is an active shooter situation. And that got them there quicker. Yeah. And then you hear about the thing on it, and it's a daily occurrence almost. I mean, that's overstating it a little bit, but my gosh, I mean, those people had no idea. Thank God, from what I understand, none of the injuries are life-threatening injuries. Yeah. But when we say that, we know that they're going to be life-affecting injuries.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously something going on with this individual who apparently is the primary suspect as well. I mean, you just don't wake up one day and do that. I mean, back in the day when Dillinger and all those people were robbing banks and everything, their number one deal was to get money during the Depression. And the last thing they wanted to do was get involved in any gun stuff. And that's eventually what led to their downfall. But I would just say to people out there, sometimes people are short. Okay. I get that. Somebody honks at you in traffic or flips you the bird or something, right? Yeah. You never know what they're going through.
Yes.
And sometimes hello, hey, how you doing? Are you okay? If you need anything, let me know. That can make a huge difference that we never know about. And so not only are we going to be reaching out to those folks who are involved and impacted, but if you see somebody, nobody wants to get in any trouble. Nobody wants to get anybody in any trouble. But if you see something that's out of the order, there are people there that you can go to, and you can do it anonymously, and you can say, hey, something ain't right. Yeah. Somebody needs to check this.
Yeah. It's been a rough week all around the world. Here, especially in Kentucky, we've had 2 incidents. The little girl on Monday with the bus incident, and then of course the shooting yesterday. So, and then what happened in Georgia. So it's been tough, and
it's a variety of things. I've got a dear friend of mine. I think did that happen Tuesday morning over Clark County? I think
was that Tuesday? Okay, I thought
think
that
it was because I was actually over there. A friend of mine, her son is the JV quarterback for GRC, and I was over there watching them on Monday night. And I mean that they do a great job at that school. I mean, it is now one of the largest high schools in Kentucky, it's got things coming and going. And I mean, I know people get in a hurry, and, you know, people want to get through the bus lines and get through the car lines and everything. But this apparently happened when this teenager who was a freshman, you know, was running across this area at 6:45 in the morning when it wasn't full light. And so, you know, a lot of things in life seem important, but we all know what the really important things are.
Yeah.
As much as we can, we should keep our eyes on that ball and help people that we love, and even those people that we don't know, remind them and help them to keep their eye on that as well.
No, 100%. Very true. No better word said. I mean, because people, they need to hear a good thing about them. Tell somebody you love them. Tell somebody you appreciate them. Tell somebody, you know, those are important things. And we don't do enough of it. We need to do more of it, because I think, you know, that's just how it is. I mean, you don't, if somebody's need a helping hand, try to help them as much as possible.
Sure. And again, somebody, you know, I think the stigma is gone a lot now, but there's still a lot of stigma out there. And somebody may need a hand, and they're maybe too proud to ask for it.
Oh, yeah.
But by an action that is totally out of character for them, it may tell you or another friend, hey, this ain't like them. Let's see if we can find out what's going on.
Yeah, I know the schools in the London Corbin area are not having classes tomorrow because they still have not apprehended the suspect. So I think that's a good thing to do too, to not put those students in harm's way since he's still out there. Yeah, and I also remind people, if you're in the London, Livingston area and you're out, please, if you don't need to be out, don't be out. And if you see this individual, do not approach him. Call your local law authorities and let them know where you saw him at.
Yeah, I think I saw a report earlier today that they had actually found the weapon. They still have not found him. And, you know, the thing to remember in something like this is, you know, nobody wants a bad ending or anything like that, but desperate people do desperate things. And so until you get the all clear or whatever, you can't use enough caution.
You're 100% right, Dave. Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming on. You're such a good man. I'll bring you back during basketball season. We'll talk the end of football and get ready for Mark Pope's year number 1.
How about that?
Sounds like a lot of good things are going to be happening for the basketball team. I'm excited for the women.
Yep, absolutely. Had a couple of tough injuries at the start before camp ever started, but you know, they've done a great job. I think they've done a great job of getting people in here, and I think it's going to be a fun basketball season all the way around.
I agree 100%. God bless you, Mr. Dave Baker. I will see you later.
Thank you, brother. Love you. Thanks for everybody who's watching. Take care.
No problem.
Have a good
Thank you.
night. All right,
I appreciate Dave. Thank you.
All right,
Dave
bye-bye.
Baker from WKYT. That's a great man. That's a really great man. Another good man with us, Mr. Jeff Drummond from Cats Illustrated. Jeff, welcome. Lot going on, so we'll dive right into it. Steelers hat. That's a nice hat. I believe they got a big victory today.
1-0, baby.
And actually, wasn't they an underdog coming to the game?
Yeah, about a 3.5-point underdog.
Sometimes the underdog seems to find a way to make you look bad. Oh, well, while we're talking about the underdog, let's talk about yesterday, because that was disastrous. You know what? Dave had some great thoughts. You know, we don't know. We're not the coaches. We're not in the locker room with them. But that wasn't Kentucky football. Wasn't close.
No, it wasn't. And it's really hard to put a finger on exactly where things went wrong. I think it may stem from one of the biggest mistakes you can make in football is judging week 2 by what you saw in week 1. They've long talked about it, like at the NFL level, it's called Overreaction Monday.
Mm-hmm.
People will do this tomorrow based on what they saw today in the NFL and make these declarations about week 2. And then week 2 comes around. You're like, how did that happen? But I knew everything in week 1. Don't. And we saw South Carolina struggle with Old Dominion and really should not have won the game. It was Old Dominion thoroughly beat them all day long, but they found a way to win. They came up here, and I think fans, maybe even the coaches and players, especially when Kentucky was so tempo. But we saw a team with a lot of pride. You know, South Carolina, they came to play. They fought hard. They were tougher. They were more aggressive. They were all the things that Kentucky used to be when Mark Stoops had this program ending. That's a little bit concerning. Tying all together what we're seeing.
Okay, you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out.
I was worried about that. I hope it's not. My connection has been weird all day.
Yeah, it's been weird. It's been weird over through here too. You know, I think it's cold weather sometimes has a lot to do with it.
I'll get up here a little bit closer too, and hopefully it won't be as choppy. But when Mark Stoops was on a roll and getting this team on a streak of bowl appearances, a couple of 10-win seasons, unprecedented stuff at Kentucky, what they were doing was winning all 4 of those non-conference games, beating Vandy, South Carolina, and Missouri every year. That was 7 built-in wins for Kentucky. Now, all you needed to do to have a great season by Kentucky standards is win 2 out of those other 5. You know, 40%, and fans were happy with that. You know, nobody was really expecting anything more than that. But now what you've seen in the last few years, Missouri is elevated. South Carolina seems to have Kentucky's number, even though their overall results aren't great. They found something in that matchup with Kentucky. So you're taking really 2 wins off of that total that you've had for all those years, and that makes it really hard to get to a place where fans are going to be happy with the results.
I look at I asked Dave this, and Dave didn't know, but tied into it. Not completing the game last week, did that really hurt Kentucky? Because I think it might have affected them, because I don't think they got the reps they needed. Dave brought up a very good point too. There could have been a major injury if they would have continued to play that game. I do agree on that, but I also agree too that you needed a full game under your belt to play South Carolina. You only played a quarter, a half, and 4 minutes of the. You didn't even get and then you get in the game with South Carolina like you got into. You were at a disadvantage from the get-go.
Yeah, I think maybe so. And whereas South Carolina was tested for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And they really had to get pushed. And maybe that, in the grand scheme of things, helped them. I don't know, but I kind of agree with you that it would have benefited them to get a full 60 minutes in and just be a little bit more in sync coming into this game than they were.
I mean, because I feel like that they were okay. I thought the defense didn't play that bad. I thought they did exactly what they had to do to keep Kentucky in the game. But the offense, they just couldn't do. I mean, the offensive line, they couldn't block the little. If a little mouse had come through the hole, he would have got back there and probably sacked the quarterback. That's just how. I mean, and you hate to say that, but they couldn't block anybody. It was just that Vandergriff. Every time he gets snapped on the ground. It is not. You cannot have your best player get only 3 targets and 1 pass to him. I don't care if you can't throw the ball to him. Get him the ball some way about 10 times.
Yeah.
Running reverses, run double reverses, let him go as a wildcat. Barry Brown's got to touch football. I'm sorry. I mean, he has to. I mean, because if they couldn't get out of the pocket either way. So when you keep Vandergriff in the pocket, I felt like South Carolina was going to be, we're going to peel our hair back and we're coming. So we're going to dominate you. We're going to dominate you there because you did run the football well.
Yeah.
But we don't want. I mean, listen. I want to see a complete offense, passing and running. So I'm glad the running game got going, but how about we got three of the best receivers in college football, and I think together they might have had 7 targets total to them yesterday. I mean, that's unexcusable. That can't happen.
Yeah. Well, a lot of factors at play there, and this was, I'm sure I might be a victim of recency bias when I say this, and I've got a lot of mileage on me. I've covered this team for 34 years now, so I've seen a lot of teams, and I will forget on occasion after time heals how bad things were at times. But I left that stadium Saturday thinking I have not seen as poor an offensive line performance relative to the strength of the opponent as I saw that day. I've seen some Kentucky offensive lines get dominated by Alabama, by LSU, by Georgia, but not by a 10-point underdog like they did on Saturday. And unless they fix that, it doesn't matter who you've got at those other positions. They couldn't pass the ball. I would love for Barry Brown to have it a dozen times a game, but they couldn't even snap the ball to Brock Vandegrift without him being swarmed.
I know.
So when that's the case, I don't know what the next step is.
Maybe we're going to go to 7 linemen and just 1 receiver.
Well, you make a decent point here, because I argued that I would have been in 12 or 13 personnel with 2 or 3 tight ends all day long, and I would have played Eddie Graham football.
Yeah.
I said, we're going to run it. We don't care. We're not letting those 2 guys pin their ears back and kill our quarterback. We'll run it at you, and we'll put 2 extra tight ends in there and let them be linemen.
Watching Kentucky play yesterday is like watching the Bengals try to protect Joe Burrow. You know how bad that is.
I heard it was pretty bad. They played at the same time the Steelers did, so I didn't get to see it, but all my Bengals fans were you would have thought this was the worst weekend in the world for those folks.
Terrible. I mean, Kentucky just looked so bad. Bengals looked so bad. If you're a fan of those teams, it was so ugly. Today was not a great day to watch NFL football. I watched several games. It was so bad. The play. I mean, I know this is week 1, but that was I thought Will Levis looked really good today, for the exception of the interception he threw, which was the game winner for the Bears. But overall, I thought Will Levis had a great day.
Unfortunately, they're going to remember that one instead of the good stuff. He knows that, and I think he'll take responsibility and own up to it. But such is life as a quarterback, man. One bad decision can ruin a days full of good ones.
Okay, where does Kentucky go now? Dave Baker was actually I said something to him that he didn't know, because they said it yesterday on game day. Game day was supposed to, I don't know if they're still coming to Lexington or not. They were going to come to Lexington.
Nope.
They're not coming there.
Insult to injury, they are going to South Carolina.
Are you serious?
Yeah. For It was automatic. If Kentucky had won, they were going to be here for Kentucky and Georgia. But
Because they even said that when they were picking the Kentucky South Carolina game in their picks.
yeah,
What's the guy that does Pat McAfee? He said, "Well, we're going to be in Kentucky next week, and we're going to be pumped to the gill. I'm taking you." Everybody picked the Cats, but one person.
right.
And I said, "Game day's coming to Lexington." Wow. I said, "That's right. That's interesting." Then when they got beat, I said, "I bet they don't come down." And then I told Dave, I said, I heard that game day might be coming. He said, I haven't heard that, which now that you confirm it, they're now going to South Carolina. So
I believe that's South Carolina and LSU. So not only did South Carolina beat them on the field, but they stole their good
their game
PR
day.
exposure too. So it was a double whammy.
This game is important for Kentucky for a couple of reasons. A, they need to give a good effort to get back in good graces with the fans, because if they don't, there ain't going to be nobody at the Ohio game. Because they ain't going to come watch 2 straight weeks of bad play, not giving effort. Then, even though you might be a big double-digit favorite against Ohio, who's going to sit there and watch it? If this coming week is what we think it could be. But we need to be positive as a fan base and hope that Kentucky comes out and says, okay, last week was just a flash in the pan. We're not playing that way no more. We're going to show, number one, that we're better than what we are, and we're competitive.
For those who may be a little bit down in the dumps and thinking the season's over, and make no mistake about it, Kentucky made its season goals extremely difficult by losing this game. There's no sugarcoating it. It's going to be hard to get to where they wanted to have a successful type season by new Kentucky standards. But I've added this. It's been my experience in all those years following this team, and it kind of extends. It's both basketball and football. When this fan base gets embarrassed and the team gets embarrassed and they're down in the dumps, that next game almost always is a better performance that makes them feel better.
Yeah.
And I would be really surprised if Kentucky didn't come out swinging and fighting and giving a much better showing next week. That doesn't mean they're going to beat Georgia by any stretch. But if they can have some competitive moments in this game, show that they have addressed some of the issues and have things straightened out a little bit, be competitive, I think you can get this fan base back on track.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere along the way, you've put yourself in a position where you have to steal the game now. And that would be
You're going to steal
at Ole Miss, hard to do. At Tennessee, at Texas, ooh.
No. Not after yesterday.
They just waxed the defending national champs. And what's the other one?
Louisville.
There's one more difficult game. I mentioned 3.
Auburn at home.
No, I think that one's going to be. Let me look here. Who am I forgetting?
Florida away.
No. Well, I don't know who it was. It might be. I might be counting Georgia at home in there on this. You've got Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Texas. Those are your 4 games coming into the season that everybody said you're probably not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Since you lost to South Carolina, to have the kind of season you want to have, you got to beat one of those 4 now.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, 2 years ago, they should have beat Ole Miss down there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Will Levis' senior year. They should have beaten them down there. They give the game away, turn the ball over, I think, like the final couple times in the last 5 minutes of the game. And then.
Well, they won the game with like 10 seconds to go or something. They threw a touchdown pass, but Barryon Brown had legally shifted on the play, and it wiped the play out. So Kentucky should have left there with a win, and that's the kind they're going to have to win one of those this time to kind of make up for this really bad loss to South Carolina, or the season ends in a bit of a disappointing fashion.
Well, it's going to be a crazy. It's a night game. I think you'll still have a big crowd there. I think, but now if it starts getting ugly, they'll file out there faster than uh, you know what the Titanic did when it went down. So I mean, but now if Kentucky comes out and proves that they're going to put on a show in front of everybody, then nobody's going nowhere. And I think Kentucky. Listen, I think Kentucky's capable of doing it. They just got to fix the problems, and you got a week to do it. So I think fix them.
We need to see a step forward, and that may not mean a victory. It would shock the world if Kentucky's within a couple of scores of Georgia, but we need to see progress to salvage that energy that you had from the fans coming into this season. Let me tell you, last week the fans were outrageously good.
Yeah.
To sit through what they sat through, all those lightning delays, and to be like pumped up for Southern Miss. That place was noisy and it was rowdy. It was a fun night at the stadium, and they came back for South Carolina. They were fired up for that game. Great crowd at the start. Great crowd at halftime. It kind of fizzled out in the third. But now you've got a situation where, like you said, if you don't show some improvement, minds are going to start drifting towards Mark Pope and basketball. And it's going to be hard to get these people back if you don't show something.
October 15th, the first official day. Well, college starts way before that, but if they're not improved by October 12th, if they don't have at least, let's see, Georgia, everybody, we can't say win. We're just going to say hopefully we get a good effort. You need to beat Ohio. You need to steal one from Ole Miss if you can. You need to beat Vanderbilt, and you need to beat Florida. If you do that, then you're 5 wins, and all you have to do is beat Murray State. That's 6 wins, and you at least you're going to a bowl. Then, like you said, you would have to steal maybe. You need to either beat. I think they have a better opportunity of playing with Ole Miss or Tennessee than they do Texas. But I think they have a better chance of playing with Ole Miss than they do probably Tennessee in Texas. Tennessee looked good in the second half last night. I didn't think. Listen, as I told Dave too, I think the SEC, these bottom teams, a lot of people thought were the bottoms, are playing the best football right now. Vanderbilt and Arkansas, who both everybody said probably won't win 2 league games, have outplayed everybody.
They're improved. Yeah, Vandy especially. People need to start kind of paying attention. That is not looking like a gimme right now as we speak. But a lot of time between that one now and that one. But you start looking at games like that. If those slip out of your grasp, then things totally get off the rails.
Then everybody will be going, all right, Coach Pope, let's see this team. Let's see what you got. Do you think that Kentucky maybe is it also a disadvantage when you play your first 4 games at home? Because I feel like if they would have played a road game, maybe a home road, maybe split. I know how the schedule went because they went, that's how they put. But would that have helped them if maybe put a road game?
I'm not sure. South Carolina is one of the hardest places to play in this league. All the players will tell you that crowd and that noise in that stadium is probably as challenging as any of the places that don't have 100,000 seats. It's tricky. So on this night, I'm not sure, especially with that pass rush and the O-line problems. It would have been a lot worse than it was Saturday.
If things start falling off the rails, do we start seeing maybe Coach Stoops play some of the kids that get ready for some do we see some kids that we're not getting a chance to see?
No, I think if they're good enough to help this team, it's all hands on deck right now.
Mm-hmm.
they're not holding anybody back. They're not good enough to do that.
Yeah.
And I know that the guys they've got, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they know they can win with.
Yeah.
Got to clean some things up. You gave them 14 points on free touchdowns to a quarterback who can't throw accurately at all, just because you left guys, you blew coverages, and that's bad. That's a bad look.
Those 14 points come off 2 Kentucky turnovers. The was it a missed punt, and then they had was it interception?
Might have been. They ran an interception back for 7 too, so you can count that.
Yeah.
Mark Stoops gave them 3 points. That what I thought was just a really uncharacteristic bad decision on his part to go for it on 4th down at his own 31.
Yeah.
You knew this was a defensive struggle. You knew points were hard to come by. Just punt that thing away and continue to, grind with them. So you look at the big scheme of things. Kentucky lost 31-6, and they gave them 17 points.
Yeah.
You don't do that. This is a 1-score game, and who knows? You may play terrible and find a way to get lucky, and like South Carolina did the week before. They played terrible. They kind of got lucky. They got 2 red zone turnovers for points, and that's what Kentucky needed, and they just couldn't come up with it. Couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah. Well, I hope it gets better, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a very weird 7:30. It's a 7:00 game next Saturday, and it's going to be really interesting to see that crowd, and it's going to be interesting to see how Kentucky comes back out because, I know Georgia's got they've got a tough schedule coming up after they play Kentucky. They got Alabama in 2 weeks. They got Texas when they start October. Before that, I believe they play Tennessee. So they've got some. They can't look ahead because they've got some big time games coming up. You've got to go to Alabama. You do. I think they do play Texas at Georgia, but if Kentucky can come out Saturday and be competitive and play and to show that they're better than what they were against South Carolina, I can take that. I can handle that, and I'll be fine. But if they're not competitive, when the Ohio game comes and it's a noon kickoff, there will be nobody there because they're going to say, why are we going to watch this? Nobody's going to come. Then they don't come back. They got Vanderbilt after they play Ohio, so are they going to come back? I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
And those are no-win situations as they are, no matter what Kentucky does against Ohio. And to some extent, Vanderbilt, people are going to say, well, big deal.
Yeah.
Those teams stink. You should have beat them anyway. So it's going to be a long time before Kentucky gets another chance to pick up the fans' spirits by beating somebody perceived to be a quality opponent.
Well, at least you got to go home at a reasonable time yesterday. That was good. At least you wasn't there. At least you wasn't there till 2 a.m. like you was in the Southern Miss. What time did you actually get home? I guess after you do your media thing. The game was called at 10? What time was it called? About 12:30. I went to bed. I fell asleep because I didn't know what time it had ended. I didn't know what time it was called.
I think it was 11:51. I got home at I remember because I looked at the clock and said, "Holy cow!" It was 2:23 when I pulled in the driveway, and I had 3,000 pictures to edit when I walked in the door at home. I was up to 5:30 in the morning. I had a good sleep the next day though.
Oh, I'm glad you did because I felt sorry for you. I said my good friend Jeff's not going to get home till late. I said, what's he doing? I mean, you probably don't, do you live close to Commonwealth? I mean, to Kroger? I guess because
relatively speaking.
Yeah.
I'm right on the edge of the circle.
Okay.
Here in Lexington, 4 or 5 miles. It's an easy drive that time of night.
So you're pretty good, easier to get to Rupp Arena and the Kroger. It's not bad for you. So that's
Yeah,
good.
it's just a quick slip down the road for Rupp. Basketball is easy for me to slip in and out of.
Let me ask you just a couple basketball questions. I'll let you go. We're interested to see Mark's team. We're also interested to see this. This is a little bit different type of schedule that Mark's playing. Now, with him in charge, are we going to see Kentucky in the future play in some of the big tournaments that, like the Maui or those big? Maybe are we going to see? I hope we do, because I know
Yes.
Cal was against going to those big things.
Yeah, I think you will. Pope knows how important those things are to the fans, and he's a fans first kind of guy. So I think you'll see him working to get back in those. I think you'll see him working to try to get into more home and home little short contract series with good teams.
I know Indiana is going on the schedule next year, right?
Yeah,
Home and away.
That's long overdue. It's just absurd what the officials of these two schools have let happen over petty bickering to that once great rivalry, and maybe it can be great again. I hope it is.
Yeah, I do too.
But I think you'll see changes in that. Cal, in defense of him, started having some hip issues and some health things. He didn't want to make that flight out to Maui, especially when he's feeling like that before he got hip replacement surgery. And by then he had kind of gotten settled into, this is how we need to do it. We need to go play neutral site, which Kentucky has played some fun neutral site meetings.
Oh, I have. I just want to see Kentucky playing like the Maui Invitational or Alaska or the big tournaments that you see some of the big teams play in. I would even like to see them back in playing Madison Square Garden in the cancer versus cancer thing.
Cancer,
yeah, I'd like to see them back. And they haven't had it since 2018, but I'd like to see the NIT return to the preseason. I don't tell you what play in that, but I miss the NIT because I think that was a great thing that led to, we saw who we thought was pretty good teams playing that. We saw some good competition. But I hope that Coach Pope takes them to the big tournaments and lets them play and lets them go have some fun. Because I think, those are some good tournaments. I love the Maui. I love the tournaments in Alaska and the big time showcase games.
Yeah, you stole my idea there. I was like, bring back the Great Alaska Shootout, man. That dates us, tells you how old we are.
Mm-hmm.
But that was fun. We could have Wayne Turner tell his stories about getting lost on the snowmobile out in the wilderness. But yeah, I think just it's an open palette now as far as Kentucky's concerned. I think Mark Pope will take a look at a variety of things to help the team and not get so worked up about, well, we need to play these neutral site games because that's how you play in the NCAA tournament. We want to get ready for that. There was never any evidence that those scenarios helped Kentucky prepare for March Madness. If they did, I would support him wholeheartedly, but Cal lost a ton of these neutral court matchups in the last 4 or 5 years, and it was at the detriment of the opportunity to bring good teams to Rupp and give your home fans some better games to watch.
Yeah. Well, I know sometimes you get a little aggravated when Nicholls State's coming and Prairie A&M and those teams. But I mean, those games are for the home crowd, so you can do some fun things and give everybody opportunity to play some minutes. But I do like seeing some of the good competition, and I like to see Kentucky playing that because I think they deserve it. One women's question, I'll let you go. Women's team, I'm excited about them. Now, they've had a couple of preseason injuries. Are they going to linger into the regular season? And what do you think about the women's team?
Well, full disclosure, this is a little bit outside of my coverage expertise. There are other people who are covering that beat and know more about it than I do. But from what I understand, they've lost a couple people that could have really helped them this season, that had a lot of talent. I think one person might have the chance to come back at some point. One looks kind of maybe doubtful to return this season, something like that. But they're very excited about what they still have left. And I think by all indications and people who have been around Coach Brooks and been able to learn some things about him, they expect that he's going to have a real competitive team.
Yeah. Well, Midnight Madness is going to be so much fun this year. You got 2 new coaches. It's going to be probably a whole different type of show. Is it going to be at Memorial Coliseum? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, moving it from and listen, Memorial is
that might be the blue-white.
Okay, all right. I know one of the combinations is.
I need to check that. I think maybe Madness still at Rupp, but the blue-white scrimmage, which for whatever reason never commands a big. Yeah. I've never really understood why 20,000 people come to Madness.
Yeah.
And then 8 or 9,000 come to scrimmage. I want to see them play basketball.
But I will say this much: it is so beautiful now at Memorial Coliseum. I mean, that's so beautiful.
Hey,
all the upgrades and everything.
Project manager on that used to play football for Harlan High School. Give him a little shout out here. Cole Combs.
There we go.
Was a Harlan Green Dragon. He gave me a little tour of that while they were finishing it up, and man, they did an incredible job.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. It looks so beautiful. I can't wait to see the women back in there. The volleyball team's already back in there playing. Volleyball team had a tough game the other night against Penn State. But a lot of good things going on in UK, and if we want to know about it, you and Dave will always know the answers and have all of the answers I need. Jeff, thanks so much, sir, for your time. We will be hollering at you when basketball gets ready to start, and we'll know by then where Kentucky's football team will be going by then, because basketball starting Kentucky will be about 6-7 games into the season, so 8 games. So it's funny this year though, because they got 4 games in November. They've never played 4 games in November.
Right. They've got those 2 bye weeks, open dates rather, kind of built into the schedule now. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm an optimist at heart. I think they're going to get better. I just don't know if it'll be enough to satisfy people in the end, because we've elevated the standard to a new level for Kentucky football. And when you pay the coach a top 10 salary, when you ask fans for more, NIL, support this team, give, you got to have those results.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can find a way to steal one along the way and pick everybody's spirits back up.
We need a good effort Saturday night against Georgia. If we could some way steal the game, that would be unbelievable. But we just need to play well, keep our fan base happy, so they'll be back for Ohio and Vanderbilt, and then maybe go on the road and steal the Ole Miss game, because you just never know on any given year. Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame yesterday. Anything can happen.
You never can tell when you talk about college kids.
Yeah, exactly right. Mr. Jeff Drummond, you're a great man. Thank you so much for being with me. And I will be hollering at you when we start basketball towards the end of football.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Always like to have you on here. And I'll give your Steelers another shout out. We'll give your Steelers one more shout out.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
Jeff, thank you so much for being with us, and I'll be talking to you soon.
All right. We'll see
you. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. See you. Jeff Drummond from Cats Illustrated. Always glad to have him on the show with us, and he's always a great guest. Oh, I have another great guest with me. God, I've had great guests everywhere tonight. How lucky am I?
Hello, what's up?
How's Miss Audrey doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Did you ever get any sleep? I was concerned about you from last week's UK game when it was 2:00 in the morning and you were still at Kroger.
One sec. The service in the dressing room is not amazing.
Everybody's had service problems tonight. They've had to go to certain areas to talk.
Yeah, just seems like a problem everywhere, right?
Well, I think the weather changing has something to do with it. You got a lot going on out there too, so you know. Sometimes when you like my internet's in here, so I'm close
Trying
to
to
it.
find
Trying to find a good
quiet
spot.
to do this. Give me 1 sec.
Okay, well you're doing good. You're okay. Let me go ahead while she's
go
doing
ahead.
that. I'm gonna go ahead and get the schedule up for week. Let's look at the scoreboard actually first, then we'll
But
get into
what were
it.
you saying?
I was just you said you were gonna find me a good spot, and while you're doing that, I was gonna get the scoreboard up and we'll look at our games from last week.
Okay. Should be good now.
It was a weird Friday night. Again, I've said this for the past 3 Fridays. I feel like that maybe it's a running side. You know, I feel like that when I think I've got the pulse on one team, that team makes me lose that pulse. This week's team would be Somerset. What in the world happened to them at Knox Central? Now, listen, I'm not putting Knox Central down. That's a great win for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had the same reaction that you had when we got that scoreboard in. I'm really interested to see the stats when they get posted on KHSA, just because I don't know if someone for Somerset was injured. They didn't have one of their key players. That's what first came to my mind was that, because again, not knocking Knox Central.
No, me either. I mean, yeah.
Somerset is a very good team, and up until this point, all the wins that they had been very dominant. So just wouldn't have thought a team like Knox Central would have been the team to hand them their first loss.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah, that one was definitely surprising.
Well, they almost got it last week too when they played Russell County. But then Russell County turns around and spanks South Laurel, and I'm thinking, well, maybe Russell County was a little bit better than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I think South's not bad. I think Coach Hines is doing some good things there. It's going to take him a year or two to really get what he wants there. But once he gets going, they're going to be running away.
He has players that have been developed by another coach. So, once he gets these younger guys that he's starting to develop from the beginning, then I think they will have a very good program. But just from what I've heard around that community stuff is that he's being embraced as the coach, and he is doing some really good things for the program. And yeah, they have a pretty decent team.
Your poor top 10 is not. It's not going to be able to stay in order at any time in the next little bit. It seems like you'll put top 10 out, 5 of them will lose, 6 of them will lose.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement in this one. I would say.
I'm gonna give you my top 10. I do one every week, like you guys do. My top, and I tell you, I was real. I was real kind to 2 teams. I put Belfry and Pikeville at 9 and 10. The reason I did that because I thought Belfry played a good Johnson Central team. I felt like if they got beat by a team that wasn't very good, I would put both Pikeville and Belfry out of my top 10. But Pikeville's lost to 3 legitimate state contenders: Corbin, LCA, and Johnson Central.
Yep.
So my top 10, I got Pikeville 10, Belfry 9, North Laurel 8. I know North Laurel played Franklin County, but Franklin County is really, really good. I got Hazard in my top 10 now.
Yes, I was waiting for that one. Each week I was like, okay, if they keep going, then
I got them 7. I got Betsy Lane 6. I got Somerset 5, Johnson Central 4, Bell County 3, Rockcastle 2, and Corbin 1. Now, I know I'm going to take a guess that Whitley and Lawrence will probably they'll probably fall out. So you're probably going to have two new teams. Now, I put Hazard in there because I think Hazard's been – look here. Hazard's played 3 games already. They scored more points in 3 games than scored the whole year last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because they have some kids now that have experience. Last year, they were just an inexperienced team that was – I mean, they never had the same 11 kids on the field at any time.
Yeah.
So who would have told you coming into week 3, Hazard would be 3-0, Pike will be 0-3?
I think if you told me that, I would just be like, you're clearly not watching football. I am, or did last year. Crazy.
Apparently, you looked at me and went, okay, you do sports and you think that, you're crazy. But, I mean, it is crazy because, Hazard has a great opportunity. Now, this is a big game for Hazard coming up for Friday night. They got Letcher Central. Letcher Central come off of – I thought Bale played better Friday. I thought Bale's back was against the wall, and I thought Dudley said, okay, worked hard. We played 2 weeks of football that's not Bell County football. We're going to come play. And I think Letcher Central's still a good football team.
Yeah, the pieces are coming together for Bell County, I think. Just the first game for them was definitely kind of like, okay, how do we play without Daniel Thomas? Let's kind of see how this goes. Yeah. And they're getting their footing. And I think Letcher is kind of one of those underdogs. Like they're sneaky. You don't always see them coming. And I think their biggest problem is consistency because they can run up on really good teams and surprise some people. And then it kind of seems like they rewind a little bit, which I thought is what they did against Bell County, like several interceptions and just took them a minute to get their offense going. But I'm very happy to see Hazard 3-0 for the first time since 2016. It's just the energy around their program. And one thing that I noticed about Hazard, because I've been to 2 of their games now, is they play fast. Their offense is pretty fast for high school, which I feel like is a lot and you don't see a lot in high school. So high school teams aren't used to that. But I have to run every time they get a first down or something because it's like they go quick.
Yeah, it's amazing. Let's look at some of the scores from the other night. I tell you, I'm excited about one game this week. There's a bunch of good ones, but I'm excited about this game. Bale County and Prairie Central at Bale. Now, Prairie Central scored over 40 points last 2 games after they didn't get much anything in Somerset. I think Prairie Central's starting to come along because they're starting to play Prairie Central football the way I thought Prairie Central could be. I think it's going to be a really great game between them 2 this week. But, they got a big win Friday night at home. They beat a really good Lawrence County team, 35-21. That was a good win. Now, look here. You go to the scoreboard. You got Leslie County, 45-20 over McGoffin. Hazard's big win, 58-34. Listen, Paris probably wouldn't have scored 20 points. Hazard substituted there late, but that's just impressive win with Bulldogs. Corbin continues to be impressive. They just manhandled Lexington Catholic. Lexington Catholic 0-3. Knox Central upsetting Somerset 47. Of course, game of the week, Johnson Central. That was a great game. I watched a little bit of that game. I was really impressed with both teams. A really competitive game, back and forth. You got Franklin County over North Laurel 42-7, which I think this is a good game for North Laurel just to play because they need to play good competition to know how good they are. Bale 30-14 over Letcher. Whitley 28-22 over Hardin County. Of course, that's that Prairie Central. Betsy Lane gets the shutout over Fairview 32-0. We had a Thursday night game where Powell, I don't know where that comes from, 58 points against Floyd Central. Poor old Floyd Central, they scored 30, 30, and 30, but they've lost all 3 games by double digits.
Yeah, so got to be their defense.
Yeah. Clay County with a big win Friday night. That's a big win over a good Williamsburg team. Clay County might be a better team than what a lot of people think so. You lose one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and you just come back and you're scoring points, and your defense is really good. You're scoring a lot of points. Clay County's for real. And then the rest is the team that I've been praising them big is Pulaski County. They're playing so good football right now.
Yeah, Pulaski's on the up and up. I'm hoping to get out to one of their games soon because that win against GRC, that's crazy.
GRC is a good football team, and they went in there and manhandled them.
Yeah. Like, that is so impressive for them. That's a good win for them for sure.
Well, we're going to find out how good Pulaski County is this week because they got a trip to Corbin.
That's a big test for them.
Yep.
I anticipate that Corbin will come out on top. Corbin's just extremely untouchable in my opinion. But you know, those kinds of games are always competitive, at least in the beginning. So that'll be a fun one for anyone who's going to it.
Well, let's start off. Game of the week. What you got? Tell me.
I'm not really. We have to wait till tomorrow.
Oh, so you're not for sure which game you're doing yet?
Well, we announce it on Monday.
Well, I mean, Jack and Amondo's been telling me on the show, but I understand if you can't give secrets out. We'll wait till tomorrow. I would figure you guys is probably going to do. My guess you would do one of two games. You would either do Hazard Letcher or Pulaski County Corbin, which I don't know if they'll let you come do a game. Corbin, I don't know if they'll let you come. The only other game I think you may do would be Prairie Central at Bell, because everybody, Pike was at race. But you guys have surprised me before by doing two teams because you want to give love to everybody, and I love that. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to hear tomorrow night what your game of the week is.
That Jack and Armando have said on here before. Is that what you said?
Yeah, they usually can tell me the game of the week because they already knew what it was.
Okay, I see. I wasn't.
Well, it was pretty obvious what it was the first week because you guys you had to change your game of the week, and the Pike County Bowl was always the second week, and then you guys have done the Pike or the Belfry Johnson game the last 2 years, so I usually can pretty much figure it out. But then this week I am a little baffled because
usually we start talking about it and teasing and telling people that this is our week on Monday, and I wasn't sure if we knew yet, but now looking I think it will be Belfry at Southwest.
Nice game. Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah, that's a really good. And it'll be your first time at Southwestern, wouldn't it? I don't think you guys have done a game there.
Not this year, and I don't believe last year we did either.
Yep. I know 2 years ago you were going to try to do the big rivalry game between them and Pulaski County at the end of the year. Something happened that you had to change it because there was another game closer to home that had district unification, so you changed the game, or you would have went there a couple years ago. I think that was when Pulaski and Southwestern both had one loss apiece, and everybody was talking about the game. And
good memory.
I know.
You have a good memory.
I tried. But some of the games this week, you got Harlan at Leslie County. This is going to be a good game for Leslie County because they had some injuries. They had some young men get hurt, and we want to pray for them as well. They had a couple of kids get hurt. Hopefully they'll be back. But we're going to see how Landry Collett's been ripping it up.
Yeah, he's had
Audrey.
3 consecutive great weeks of football.
Letcher Central's at Hazard. That's the game that everybody's got their eye on, ready to watch. You got Pulaski County at Corbin. Somerset at Garrett. You think your game of the week is Belfry at Southwestern. You got Johnson Central at Breathitt County. Breathitt County just can't catch a break right now. They had Belfry week 1. They played Prairie Central week 2, gave up almost 100 points in the first 2 games. Mm-hmm. They scored 21 last week against Lewis County, but now they got to turn around and play Johnson Central. and then next week they play Hazard.
Very hard schedule for them.
Yeah.
A lot of teams that we're seeing have really difficult schedules.
Yeah.
And it's like it's keeps getting more and more each year, which I think is just a testament to how much better these teams are progressing, and they're just a bunch of building blocks, and they're just getting better and better each year, and the competition just keeps raising, which is why our top 10 keeps changing so much, is because people are shocking us. It's just a lot of movement, a lot of competition.
Pikeville's at Raceland. Poor old Pikeville. Again, Pikeville's playing another top 10 team.
They could, which would be the first time in since 1940 something.
I mean, yeah, that's crazy. You got Prairie Central at Bell. I'm really interested. This game's got some potential here. Not Kelly Central at Betsy Lane. Because Not Kelly's put up some nice numbers the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is their first road game.
Yeah.
And Betsy Lane's not been sharp, but they've been good enough to be 3-0. Who would have told you Not Kelly would be 3-0, Betsy Lane be 3-0, and they're playing each other? And this could be a really good ball game.
Yeah.
I mean,
be competitive for sure.
Yeah. You got Clay County at Harlan County, Clinton County at Jenkins, Estill County at Bath, Floyd Central at West Carter, Jackson County is at Shawnee, Middlesboro is at Shelby Valley. Somebody's going to get their first win of the year. Morgan County is at Fairview. Paintsville is at Martin County. I like this game right here. Big time. It's going to be a nice game.
That one's good. Yeah.
Phelps at Blaine, Virginia. Pineville at Emesis. Powell County is at Pike Central. Prestonsburg's at Lewis County. Russell is at McGoffin. Wagner is at Williamsburg. Ward Central at Warren East. I don't know why that's in there. That's on a mountain game. I guess I didn't take it out. Wayne County's at Madison Southern. And Whitley County in South Laurel. That's going to be a fun game there.
County, South Laurel, that's a good one too.
Yes, that's going to be a lot of fun as well.
One team we haven't talked about that's also is Prestonsburg.
Yes, they're 3-0.
They're 3-0. Wesley Hager in his coaching first year at Prestonsburg, he's doing a great job with that team. And they edged out Paintsville by 1 point. Like, talk about a gritty win. That's a team I'm keeping my eye on for sure. Yeah.
I'll be interested to see who is in your top 10 tomorrow, because it will interest me. I know that you're going to have a lot of shuffling because because let's see. Okay, Corbin won, Somerset lost, Belfry lost, John Central won, Piper lost, North Laurel lost, Bell County won, Whitley County won, Lawrence County lost, and Betsy Lane won. So you had 5 win and 5 loss.
Yeah.
And see, I don't know if you guys will be like me. Do you take 2 teams out, put 2 new ones in? Do you take 1 out, put 1 new one in, and just shuffle everybody down towards the bottom? Or because I know a lot of times scheduling has a lot to do with who stays in the top 10, which is understandable because Pikeville played one of the most brutal schedules in the entire state.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody would be 0-3 if they played that same schedule.
Yeah. We take into consideration a lot of, like, if you lose, but it's to, like, a Franklin County or something, can we really punish you a lot for that? If you win against a team that's maybe doesn't have the resume that matches the team that they lost to, then it's like, can we account that win for as much as if they played a more competitive game or against a more competitive school? So it's not always just if you win or lose and that determines where you go. We look at a lot of different, like, your opponents. The past weeks come into consideration too. Like, for example, with Hazard, like they're 3-0 and they were kind of just, it was like proving each week that, like, okay. And then it all kind of built up, and I'll tease.
That's why they made my top 10 this week.
Yes.
Look here.
Hazard is in ours this week, but I won't say where, and you'll find that out tomorrow.
Oh, I'll be watching because I watch every day. I'm faithful.
Put a little teaser. for everybody.
We love teasers around here.
Yeah.
Just got a couple more things. I'm gonna let you go. I'm not going to harp on Kentucky because I've harped on them for the last hour. I just want to get your thoughts on what you thought about yesterday, and can they bounce back? Can they at least give a good effort against Georgia? Tell me yes or maybe a yes. Can they?
If it was anybody but Georgia, my confidence would be so much higher.
Yeah.
And I was shocked by the performance they had yesterday personally, because I know it's always a good game between these two. And I wasn't going into Saturday thinking like Kentucky's definitely going to take this one. I know they were a favorite going into it, but they talk about how this is kind of like a not newfound, but like a rivalry in the conference now, because they are so evenly matched every year. And it wasn't competitive like at all. And Kentucky just looked a mess. It was like I was listening to it on the radio when I was driving back I went to the UPike game, and there's so much stoppage because of flags. Like that just messes with your rhythm, and Kentucky didn't even have any rhythm to start with. So then you put flags in there and it just messes it up even more. Interceptions, so many sacks. Like I reported today that Kentucky lost 160 total yards of offense that's more than a football field. Think about it. That's more than the whole football field that they play on, between penalties, sacks, and yards lost rushing. That's just not disciplined. 11 flags.
And I was more displeased watching that offensive line. If you can't protect nobody, if you can't do a better job than that, then we're going to be in for a long year.
And think about it. That was Brock Vandegrift's first real test as Kentucky's quarterback.
Yep.
You're fighting for your life out there, like running for your life out there. And the nerves are high.
And you thought South Carolina was running you around? Georgia's going to run you even further.
Yeah, like that's going to be terrifying for him if the O-line performs the way they did yesterday on this coming Saturday. But I will say that I think the nerves, I'll be interested to see how Brock responds, because I wouldn't think yesterday gives you a lot of confidence as a quarterback. But you're going against your former school, so there's that chip on that shoulder. So I'd be interested to see how those kind of play together in his mind and how he mentally comes prepared to the game,
Yeah, I want to answer this question down here in the comments box because this is an important question. Greg Bates wants to know, at the current situations happening in London, do you expect cancellation of JV and varsity games in London and stuff? I will tell you right now, I would say there'll be no activities till he is till they get him.
Yeah.
I do know Corbin and Laurel County schools are not having classes tomorrow, which is a great decision. You need to keep those kids home. Once he has been captured, they can probably go back and send them back to school. Greg, I would say probably not. But I'm not the decision makers. But I'm going to say on the safe purposes, there'll probably be no competitions of any kind in the next day or two till they can apprehend the suspect. So that's the best way I can answer that question for you. And I hope I did answer that for you. I know you guys have been doing a really good job of covering that situation. And again, I want to give my prayers. I know you do. Everybody wants to give their prayers to the people in London and Livingston on what happened yesterday. We've had a rough week, Audrey, with the shooting in Georgia and the little girl, the bus situation we heard. Then yesterday, I want everybody to pray for everybody, please. And as Dave Baker said earlier, guys, if you see somebody that's having a hard time, Go over and tell them you love them. Tell them you appreciate them. Tell them that you're thinking about them. A good, kind word will always go a long way. And, we don't do enough of that. And I think we need to do more of that.
Spread love. Spread love, not hate.
Yeah, 100%. Audrey, thank you so much for being with me. It's always a pleasure. I like what Armando's letting you guys do. I get to see one of you once a month, so that's exciting. And sometimes I get to see you twice a month, depending on if somebody's going to work or somebody can't. He likes to switch it around, so he always tells me on Mondays who's going to be with me.
Yeah,
but
have a rotation.
I love it when you're with me. Oh yeah, I like it when you're with me. You and Jack and him doing a super job, and continue the great work. And you guys, you be safe. And I'll be watching the 11 o'clock news tonight. And we will. I will say goodbye to you.
All right. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
always an honor. Thank you very much. Audrey Hausberg from WYMT, and she will get ready for another week of high school activity. Do want to say again, Greg, I hope I answered your question the best I knew how. But we'll have to wait and see how that situation works itself out. Okay, I want to remind everybody, thank you for watching the show. I want to thank everybody that was a part of the show, made a call. Christopher made a call. I appreciate that comment from you guys. Thank you so much. I do want to comment, too. I was on the WJSN Sports Talk a couple weeks ago. Thank you guys for me on there. I appreciate that. Anytime you guys want to be a part of my show, you let me know. I'd like to have you on the show. But I had a lot of fun, and good luck to you guys. Guys, I want to thank you for the comments. Thank you again, Coach. Appreciate the comment there. You are correct with that comment. Yesterday was the worst loss in Parker Stoops area. That or the Vanderbilt game. So, but thank you, Coach, and good luck to you dogs. Again, I want to remind everybody, I want to thank all our guests. Wes Johnson from Lexington, Dunbar. Of course, Jeff and Dave and Audrey being with us next week. I'll be back with you next Sunday night, September the 15th. Episode number 5 of the CJ Harris Show. I'm going to have Nathan Little as my co-host, and that's going to be always a good time when Nathan is with me. We're also going to have Daniel Barker with us from West Carter. Kelly Wells, athletic director at Morehead State University. We'll have some other guests as well on the show. I want to remind everybody, go to my Facebook page. I want you to find the CJ Howard Show page. I want you to share it. I want you to like it. And I want you to share it with everybody, your friends and family, so everybody can be a part of the CJ Howard Show. I also want you to go to my YouTube page. We are live on YouTube right now. And you guys, go give me a subscription. I would appreciate that so very much. And I would appreciate that very much. Guys, I also have a TikTok. I want you to go over. I want you to follow me. I have some good content over there. Eventually, I hope to get the show on TikTok so people over there can watch it as a live stream. I also have a Cash App. It's extremely here at the bottom of the page. If you guys want to help with the show, I would appreciate that. Equipment does cost money. Stuff I need for the show. So I'd appreciate it if you want to help. Anything is appreciated. I also have a GoFundMe page, guys. So on my Facebook, if you want to go over there and you want to help me out with that as well, I would appreciate that as well, too. But again, I want to remind everybody, I'll be back with you next Sunday night, 8 o'clock. We'll have another edition of the CJ Howard Sports Talk Show. This is CJ Howard, running third, heading for home. And as Casey Kasem said, keep your feet on the ground and keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. I love you all. God bless everybody. Good night. And again, prayers for everybody in the London, Livingston area, Georgia, and in the Clark County area. Prayers for everybody. I love you all. Good night.